Welcome to Live DAF, your online DAF Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's DAF. Bava Basra DAF Lamed Ches. We're holding on Lamed Zayin Lamed Beis, 2 lines off the bottom of the Yomid. Amri Nahardoi. So in Harda, they stated as follows. Haiman, the Zavin Dikla L'Chavrei. Reuven sold a palm tree to Shimon. Just a tree. Kanile, so Shimon acquires part of the land as well. The land which pertains to the tree, which is serving the tree, meaning he can replant that tree if in fact it dies, because he obtained rights to have a tree producing fruit in this property. Kanile mishipule, he acquires the property from beneath the tree, directly beneath the tree, ad time until the depths down below. Rashbam learns that he can replant the tree if necessary, if the tree dies out. Taisus disagrees. He says, since when? He purchased merely one tree. You don't get any land with it. You need at least 2 or 3. So Taisus disagrees with the Rashbam. He says, all the Gemara means to say is that the seller cannot dig beneath that tree, which will, affect the tree, which will damage the tree. But in terms of replanting rights, he doesn't have that right. Okay, but in any case, he has some land rights. Maskefla Rava has a problem with this. He says, what do you mean? Who says I sold him part of the land? I sold him the tree and the tree only. He can tell the buyer, look. And Rava draws a parallel to the classic case of a certain plant called the curcuma de rishka, certain type of spice grown in gardens. So they would just leave it there until it ripen, until it fully grows, and then they would pull it out. It was a temporary type of thing. It wasn't there permanently. It wasn't like a long-term presence. So why can't he tell them likewise? Look, just like a kurkuma de rishka, zivinilach, that's what I sold you. Imagine I sold you this plant, this spice, right? It's yours until you're done, until it ripens. You pull it out, pull out, extract that kurkuma de rishka, vizil, and leave. So it's just using it as a parallel, as like a mashal. That's all I did when I sold you the tree. I didn't sell you the property with it. It was a tree for its fruit, as long as it's bearing fruit. Gesundheit, but otherwise, leave my property. Elam Rava, rather, says Rava, typically land is not included with the tree. Baba machmastana. This halacha is a very specific case where, Shimon has a appointed claim against Reuven. He says, look, you specifically were mefarish. You specified that you granted me rights to the land as well. Typically, it doesn't come along with the land, but here, you specifically sold me part of that land. And that's why he's kind. Amalei Mark Shisha, brother Chizda Ravashi. He had a kasha to Ravashi. What do you mean? How can a seller ever walk away safe? I mean, every person can present this type of claim, right? Suppose he did not sell him the property. Suppose he did not specify property included. He only sold him the fruit of the tree. Imagine he really sold him only again, back to the spice, a temporary type of thing, without the land. What should the seller do to protect himself from any frivolous claims? What can he do? The answer is, what do you mean? Standard procedure. Wage a complaint. Lodge a protest. Every 3 years, right? Get up and make that declaration. You should know, he's eating the fruit because the fruit is his, but it's no more than that. He doesn't have anything to do with the property. That's what he should do. This way, he avoids any confusion down the road. Because if you don't agree that you can make this type of partial macha, the classic macha is that, look, this guy is robbing my property. That's a classic, protest. Here it's sort of in between. He's rightfully there. But you should know it's only a temporary proposition. Can you do such a macha? Perhaps only a heavyweight macha, a direct accusation of robbery can, really make waves and make the news and do its, have its effect. But perhaps this sort of pseudo macha doesn't really work. No. Because otherwise, hani mashkanta desura. You're going to run into A lot of complications. Imagine a lender made a mashkanta de surah arrangement. Right? We discussed this the other day. So you lent a guy $1 million, he gives you his field temporarily. Next 10 years, every year you deduct X amount from that loan until it's done. And then you give him back the field. The Kasa Bahachi, they have this document that they formulate. When the years are up, right? After the 10-year term is up, this property goes back to its owner with no pay. That's the way it's supposed to be. But imagine this. Imagine the lender who is in possession of this property for 10 years running, casts aside, he hides, he conceals that shtar. And now claims, he says, it's my purchase, it's my property. What's the owner going to do? Do you mean to say he's going to walk off with the property, he's believed? Because the owner could not make a mecha, because he was rightfully there. So basically, you think the Rabbanan would establish an arrangement, milsa, the asibol, they say that it can cause harm and loss to its owner. That can't be. Ella, rather, there must be a solution. The owner should have gotten up and made a declaration. Look, Rabbi Yisrael, he's not robbing me. He's there rightfully. But you should know it's not really his. It's only a temporary arrangement. Hachanami here as well, when it comes to the palm tree sold on a temporary basis. While it's bearing fruit only, the owner should have gotten up and made that declaration before the 3 years were up. Rabbi Yisrael, you should know what it's all about. Continues the Mishnah. We speak so much about mecha'a and chazaka. How does it work? Basically, you take over a property for a year, another year, followed by yet a third year. The owner should have gotten in your way if, in fact, you're robbing his property. He wouldn't tolerate 3 years of, crop taking, right? He would have made a mecha'a to challenge my chazaka. That only works if the owner is local. He's present within the province, within the territory, which allows him to make that mecha, which will reach the ears of the machzik. In which case we say, look, the machzik is thinking to himself, I'm here 3 years and not a peep, not a word from the owner. Where is he? Oh, apparently he's good with it. I feel safe, I feel secure, and slowly but surely he casts aside his documents and he can't find the shtar anymore. You don't expect him to hold on to shtar endlessly, right? So the chazaka right is based on the lack of mecha. I expected him to complain. He didn't. Okay. I take over the property. So that only works if, in fact, the owner had the ability to lodge that complaint, which will reach the ears of the machzik. And in the absence of such, the machzik will say, look, it's a concession of ownership. I cast away my shtar. Sholish aratzet l'chazaka, but you should know there are 3 separate territories when it comes to chazaka. So basically, if the owner wasn't around, he was in a different area totally, and could not lodge a complaint from there, it's beyond closed borders, it wouldn't reach my ears, so you can't expect him to lodge that complaint. It's pointless. So now you have to hold on to your shtar. You can't say, well, I'm here 3 years, unchallenged. So there are 3 separate territories, Yehuda, Ve'ever, Har Yarden, Hagadol, 3 areas in Eretz Yisrael. Hayya Yehuda, so let's say property and the possessor, the machzik, were in the Yehuda territory. Sorry, the owner, the former owner, is currently in Yehuda, and the property is in Golol, V'echsed B'Golol, and that's where the chazaka took place. He doesn't have the ability to convey his mecha over to Golol, or in the reverse, B'Golol, V'echsed B'Yehuda. The owner was situated in Golol as the chazaka was taking place in the other territory in Yehuda. In a chazaka doesn't work. Unless they're sitting in the same Medina, which allows the news to travel back and forth. Okay, let's stop for a second. So according to Tanakama, Rabbi Yehuda disagrees, but according to Tanakama, chazaka of Shol Yisham is based on the concept of the recurring show of ownership on account of the machzik. There a year, followed by another year. Nobody would tolerate that. Nobody would tolerate a squatter asserting himself as an owner year after year after year. So after these 3 years, he should have at least gotten up and made a complaint. The lack of complaint indicates concession, which breeds this sort of carelessness on account of the machzik, he discards his shtar. You can't expect him to prove ownership by way of a document. He's the established owner. Rabbi Yehuda. Oh, so 1 second. So now if you're not in the same area, in a different province, in which case you can't really protest, so the whole rationale behind the chazaka collapses. So it doesn't work. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yehuda disagrees on 2 accounts. Firstly, he says like this. This is the way the Rashbam explains it. No, chazaka happens immediately. Nobody in his right mind would tolerate a squatter taking over his property, even for a second. So the macha is meant to be triggered right away. So why do we ever speak about 3 years? The answer is to accommodate long distance protesting. Yeah, for an owner who's far out of town. That's why, it's exactly why we give you 3 years, to address this type of long distance communication. Therefore, says Rabbi Yehuda, it's irrespective of location. Who cares where he is? That's why we're giving you so much time to deal with it. The only reason why we gave you 3 years to begin with is for this exact reason, to address a case where the owner is sitting in China, far away, a year away, so this allows for the process to unfold. The fellow takes over his property, so during that first year, people notice it and they start thinking, okay, we have to go inform the owner who's sitting in China. It takes him a year to get there, to inform him, and the 3rd year he's running back to town to confront this squatter. So Rabbi Yehuda basically is arguing on 2 points. Firstly, if the owner is sitting in town, then the chazaka is instant. What are you doing tolerating this type of intrusion? The only reason why we gave you 3 years is simply to accommodate this long distance proposition. If you're far away, then it takes a while to go, to come. Taisa says even if he's further than a year, but that's not typical, it's not standard. It's not the derech for a person to leave his property and go that far. So we work with that year, travel type of formula, and that's why we give you 3 years. Now let's go back to the Tanna Kama. If the owner is in the same province, it works. But if he's far away, it doesn't work. Ma'ikosar Tanna Kama. What's the Tanna Kama basing the halacha on? Ikosar, if he holds a protest lodged by the owner, shaloi b'fanav, not in presence, not directly in the presence of the machzik, right? So if it is in a different city or whatever, have macha, it works. Because ultimately, word travels, especially gossip like this. Well, person's taking over my property, he's a robber. It's going to travel. It's going to get to the ears of the machzik. He's going to be notified. He's going to be informed that the owner is having a hard time with him being on his property. So if that's the case, if that works, afilu Yehuda b'galo namis. Even if he's in a different province, why can't he send a macha from where he is? Eventually, it's going to reach the ears of the machzik. On the other hand, if he holds that macha not in the fellow's presence, doesn't work. It has to be in a way that you confront him directly. So, even if it's in 2 cities, in the same province, it shouldn't work. It needs to be in the same city. It has to be local. So why is the Mishnah set it up as, well, depends if it's in the same province or in a different province? What relevance does this province have to the idea of macha? If it needs to be b'fanav, you have to be local. If it doesn't need to be b'fanav, so you can be meicha from wherever you are. So this is Rav speaking. You have to keep this in mind. We're going to see for the Gemara coming up soon. So Rav says like this: truthfully, even if you do macha elsewhere, it works. Eventually, the word will reach the machzik. It does its job. And the Mishnah, which seems to say that when the owner is located elsewhere, you can't expect him to complain. B'shas cheirum shanu, speaking at a time of cheirum, of emergency, of warfare, of tension, the borders are closed up, there's no communication, there's no traveling. So here, a macha at his location is worthless. So that sort of undoes the whole basis for the chazaka system. You can't be machzik when you can't trigger a macha. So why did the Mishnah just say, look, if the borders are closed, you got a problem. Why does the Mishnah have to go into Yehuda, Galil, right? Mention these specific, examples. Ma'ishna Yehuda v'Galil denakil. Kamashma. The point of the Mishnah is to teach us another fact. Interesting point is Stam Yehuda v'Galil, that the standard state of affairs between Yehuda and Galil, because of the, disparity of environment and habitat or whatever it is, and the contrast between these two areas was so vast that people just had no connection to each other. Interesting. So even at a time of peace, Rashi says, if there was no active warfare going on, but there was little traveling, very little communication, and therefore it doesn't work. Okay, so let's just summarize. Bottom line is, we have a clear-cut machlekes between Tanakama, who says Chazak only happens after 3 years. So if you're local, or you're in a place where you could lodge a complaint which will eventually reach the ears of the machzik, then it works. Why didn't you complain? But if you're in a place where you can't do that, then it doesn't work. But of course, macha shalei b'fanav works, provided it has potential to reach the ears of the machzik. Interestingly, Taisus points this out. He says the Gemara always focuses on macha. Macha shalei b'fanav does work or not. What about chazaka shalei b'fanav? Isn't that the starting point? Can a person be machzik here, in this location, knowing that the owner is elsewhere? Maybe the word of my, the news of my possession, of my chazaka, will not reach his ears. The Taisus says, no, that's never an issue. Because the owner, wherever he is looking out. He has his eyes and ears on his property. He meets travelers and he's always asking and inquiring as to the status of his property. So, yeah, eventually he'll find out that somebody in his property, wherever he is, doesn't matter, he'll find that part out. But the other way, the question is whether his macha will make its way back to the machzik. That's the question at hand. And the Gemara concludes that, yeah, we assume it does, unless you have these extenuating circumstances. That's the Tanakam. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, a person would never tolerate, for a second, a stranger in his property. So chazaka really happens instantly. The whole point of giving you 3 years is to allow for all this communication and travel to happen, and therefore, irrespective of location, it works. Continues the Gemara. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav. Here comes a new halacha, interesting halacha. Ein machzikin b'nechsei b'reach. So you have a b'reach, an escapee, a fellow who left town. He was being pursued by the tax authorities. So he ran off. And somebody is now taking advantage of that absence to overtake his property. You can't do that. You can't be machzik b'nechsei b'reach, because we suspect exactly that perhaps he's just taking advantage of his fellow's plight, but he's not really the owner. So you can't do a chazaka on his assets. Okay, so that's Rav's opinion. Ki Amrisa Kameh de Shmuel. Rabbi Yehuda was the one who's quoting Rav. So after Rav passed away, he went on to learn by Shmuel, and he conveyed this halacha, he relayed this halacha to Shmuel in the name of Rav. Shmuel disagreed. Amar li, he says to me, what's the big deal? So the fellow is in the Swiss Alps, okay? So what? Let him make his macha from his current location. Does he then need to actually personally confront the machzik and make a macha in his presence? Then he'll do the macha wherever he is. And the lack of macha denotes concession. Now, apparently Rav disagreed with that. He doesn't have the ability to be meicha from a distance, because macha needs to be done directly in his presence. For Rav my kamashman, so what's Rav teaching us? Macha shaloi b'fanav doesn't work, like have a macha? Really? But a minute ago, and Amalaf, Rav just told us otherwise, that it works. Rav told us macha shaloi b'fanav is a macha. Remember in the Mishnah, right? Answers the Gemara, Rav Tama the Tana the Dan Kamafarish. The truth is that this question was really subject to machlekes Tanaim. We didn't point this out in the Mishnah. If you go back, flip back the DAF here to the Mishnah. Tanakama, according to Rav's explanation, holds mecha could be anywhere, right? Shalei b'fanav works, as long as there's communication, etc. Rabbi Yehuda, however, if you take a look at his lashon. He concludes with, right, he breaks down the 3 years, right, what's the point? So that we can accommodate, a long distance traveler, right? They go and they inform him and he comes back. V'yava, he must come back personally, l'shana acheres, to complain. Apparently Rabbi Yehuda holds personal presence is required. So that's what the Gemara is answering now as well. Although Rav did posit that Mecha Shaloi B'fanav works, Rav Tama the Tana de Dan Kamafarish. He was just explaining the Tanakama's opinion, but lately Sfirli B'di himself didn't hold of it. He held like Rabbi Yehuda. You need B'fanav, which is not practical when he's a Bareach. So the Chazaka is not a fair one. Here's a second version of this discussion, that both Rav and Shmuel concur that Mecha Shaloi B'fanav is a Mecha, in which case you can be machzik on nichsei boireach, right? Omar vidam Rav machzikim b'nichsei boireach. If one is machzik, one takes possession of assets belonging to boireach, chazaka works. Where is the mecha? Why don't you complain? Why don't you send me a message from wherever you were? That's Rav. Kamrisa commit to Shmuel. Rabbi Yehuda continues. Well, when I relayed this halacha to Shmuel, Amali, he told me pshita. Well, obviously, why not? Since when does the owner has to make a mecha personally? He can do it from wherever he is. Of course, it works. So then the question begs, what's Rav's chiddush? I mean, mecha shlei b'fanav is a mecha. Have a mecha? Rav already told us that. And Amar Aleph. V'amar Rav Chadazimni already told us that mecha works shlei b'fanav. Allah Kamash, one says the Gemara, Rav actually is teaching us another point. In addition to the first point, we have another point. Da'afilu micha b'fnei beis she'ein yichaydim leimaloi havi mecha. Rav is just trying to add another aspect here. That even if the owner makes a mecha in front of two people that are not really able to convey that message to the machzik. Let's say, Rashbam says, let's say they're handicapped, not coming back to this town to inform the machzik. Or let's say he knows for a fact that they're traveling in a totally different direction. So picture the story. We have a property here in Toronto, right? Somebody came and was machzik in that property which belongs to a boireach, a fellow who escaped, who is now in New York, escaping the tax authorities, right? In New York, that owner lodged his complaint. He made his mecha, his protest, in front of two people he found in the airport who are heading to China. He knows not coming back to Toronto. They're not going to come back and relay the information to the machzik. It still works. Because ultimately, news travels. Your friend knows someone who knows someone. Eventually it's going to make its way back to Toronto. So that was Rav's point. Wherever you are, under all circumstances, if you are moicha in front of people who can convey the information, it doesn't matter where they are, what they are. I mean, unless, it's a shas cherem, of course, but typically it's okay. And that was included in Rav's halacha. And the Rabbi Yehuda brings the fact that Rav, that's what Rav cited a case of a boireach to tell you, even if he's running away and he's not really revealing his identity, and he's not really he's not revealing his identity to people who are going back to his old hometown. He's afraid of, informing them of his whereabouts. Bottom line is, in all situations, mecha works. On that, Shmuel took issue. On that specific point. The Amar of Anan, as Rav Anan tells us, Lididi, to me, Mefashali minei demar Shmuel, it was explained to me in the name of Shmuel, Micha b'fnei shnei bnei Adam, she'echoydem leimarloi, havi mecha. If in fact he lodged his complaint to two people, to two Adam, who are more likely to come back and come inform the machzik. They're healthy people, they're not known to be traveling in the opposite direction, then it works. But otherwise not. But if it's in front of two people who are not going to come back and tell, it doesn't work. And Rav disagrees. Rav Chavra Isla, your friend, has his friend. V'Chavra the Chavra, and your friend's friend has his friend. Chavra Isla, and ultimately it's going to get back. He'll find out, and he has to hold on to his star, lest he lose that property. Okay, so according to the second version, Rav and Shmuel both agree that Mecha Shalei B'fanav works, and that explains why you could be machzik in the Nechasim of a Bereach. The question between Rav and Shmuel is a totally different question regarding the quality of the Eidim that you are being Meicha in front of. Amar Rav. So what is the conclusion to this discussion? Hilchasa, Ein machzikim nisa Bereach. No, you can't make a chazaka on properties belonging to a Bereach. Hold it, 1 second. Umecha. Here comes something which seems to be contradictory. Nevertheless, you can make a mecha even shalei b'fanav tarti. So you're giving me two statements which are incompatible. These two halachos are seemingly contradictory. First, you can't do chazaka by Bereach, seemingly because he doesn't have the ability to make a mecha elsewhere. And then you come back and say, well, you could make a mecha wherever you are. Like Kasha, the answer is like this. It depends why he ran away. Kan Bereach machmas mammon. The reason for his escape is because of monetary issues. He's not concerned about revealing his whereabouts. Rashbam says his pursuers know he has no money. He's bankrupt. That's why he's gone. He doesn't want to be hassled. They're not going to pursue him. They're not going to chase him. So he's not concerned about revealing his whereabouts. He'll make his macha from wherever he is. So in that case, chazaka works. You expect him to be meicha. Kan Bereach machmas marden. However, if he ran away because he killed, marden, Rashbam says in Persian means murder. He's being pursued by the Interpol because of a murder charge. In this case, he's hiding out. He's really hiding out. He's not going to rear his head. He's not going to reveal his whereabouts. He's not going to be meicha. He's not going to go public. So in this case, you can expect him to be meicha, so you can't do a chazaka on him. Okay, so conclusion regarding making a chazaka on nichsei Bereach. Well, it depends. Why is he gone? Machmas marden? Well, then you can't do a chazaka because he's not expected to make a macha. If it's machmas mammon, so according to the first Lashon Aleph in the Gemara, it's machlekes Rav and Shmuel, which revolves around the general question whether macha shalei b'fanav works. Here is in a different place. Can he make a macha? Rav says no. So the chazaka doesn't work. Shmuel says he could, and therefore the chazaka works. According to the second Lashon in the Gemara, both Rav and Shmuel agree. Macha shalei b'fanav have a macha, in which case the chazaka in this case would work. That summarizes Amud Beis. Regarding Amud Aleph, we had the halacha of a tree which was sold with or without the property beneath it. And then we had the Mishnah which generated a machlokes between Tanakam and Rabbi Yehuda. If the owner is in a different territory with poor communication, Tanakam says it doesn't work. Whereas Rabbi Yehuda says it works, and that's why we give you so much time to look after the chazaka, to be moicha, 3 years. Incidentally, there's a machlekes rishonim. Let's say we're not sure where the owner was. The onus is on whom? We sort of set a condition. Look, chazaka only works if the owner is local. The owner is within the same province. Okay, the owner says, I wasn't there. I was in a different territory. The machzik says, what do you mean? I was here 3 years. You were around. And therefore, it's a chazaka. Who must prove his case? The onus is on whom? Does the owner have to prove that he was not around, which undoes the basis for the chazaka, or does the machzik have to prove that the owner was around, which will substantiate his chazaka? Machlekes rishonim. Rabbi Yehuda says, look, he did a proper chazaka. He was there year after year after year. You're claiming, you, Mr. Owner, are claiming that you weren't around, you weren't available, you were in a different place. You have to prove that in fact you were not around, because he's learning that his absence is like an external factor. The chazaka was a proper chazaka. You're trying to undo the chazaka by claiming that you weren't around. You have to prove it. Until you do so, his chazaka is solid. Whereas the Rosh says no. The machzik, claiming ownership, he must substantiate all facts, all elements required for the chazaka to work. That he was there 3 years, right? that the owner was in the vicinity. He has to shore up his chazakah, he has to substantiate his chazakah. And this fact is also part of his chazakah substantiation. He has to verify, he has to confirm that. It's upon him to do so in order to make the chazakah successful. All the best to you and atzlach.